Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Freaking Hidden
Nope,
City.
take two.
Take two. You can say it. You can say it because you can say it from now on because I'm always gonna forget.
Okay.
All right. 5, 4, 3. Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Bookshop Productions.
Book company, but we're working on it. All right.
Book Company
all right.
Production. Oh, it is Book Company. That's right. Okay.
Technically, it's Book Co.
Oh, a Hidden
I think
City
on the official,
Book Co. Productions.
because we had an actual business license for the store.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it actually said Book Company or Book Co.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, here we are, back at it. Fresh off of Valentine's Day. Did you do anything exciting, Sam?
Yeah, my wife and I got pizza, and we watched the latest episode of Dimension 20 Fantasy High Junior Year.
Was it a special Valentine's Day episode?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Oh,
They
well,
don't care about that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just checked. It is Book Company.
Oh, okay.
The word company. I posted on Instagram a while back, and it says, just so you know, it is more expensive to get your marriage license than it is to register your business. So if you're nervous about your upcoming nuptials, try starting a business first. It's kind of like a marriage in itself. Matt advice for you right there.
You who are so wise in the ways of business and marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't do anything for Valentine's. You know, what was it? Tuesday, right? No, Wednesday. See, my timing is all off, guys. We tried recording this episode twice. It's been a hectic week. We couldn't do it, so my schedule is all off. I don't know what I did yesterday. Probably the same old. Play Call of Duty for a little bit. Watch some stuff. I don't even remember what I watched.
You didn't get yourself a steak or anything? Or?
Nah.
Wow.
So I wanted to ask you, because we haven't really talked about it on the pod, because we try to talk about positive things on the pod. Have you heard anything recently since Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League came out?
Only like the stuff that we had talked about off pod.
Okay, so you haven't seen like any clips or anything?
I mean, I saw the final Batman clip.
Yeah. Did you see King Shark gets the Green Lantern ring?
No.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know how that works, but essentially he has, I guess, Green Lantern's finger and the ring falls off, and he sticks it on his pinky, and he gets the power, and he starts reciting the oath, and he essentially creates this giant green shark that comes out of the water to attack Brainiac's ship. I'm like, that looks pretty rad, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But the whole concept of him just putting it on is a whole other thing, which leads me to something interesting about this game that I'm curious to know more about. One, they're saying the prequel comic is really good. Suicide Squad kills Arkham Asylum. So they kill all the villains. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. 2, there's this ongoing theory that the Justice League they killed aren't actually the Justice League.
Okay.
And they started dropping all the reasons why. And apparently there's all these hints, such as King Shark just being able to use the ring.
The ring.
I think Flash loses a finger at one point, but then the actual Flash they kill, he has a full hand. So they're like, was that just a continuity mistake or not? The big one, Kryptonite doesn't affect Superman. They're like, okay, did Brainiac give him an upgrade, or is this really not Superman?
Yeah.
The big theory is they're all captured on Brainiac's ship, and there is like production art of the Justice League captured. So they're thinking DLC is going to drop, and it's going to be Suicide Squad and Justice League teaming up.
Hmm.
How
Okay.
wild would that be? All the hate that this game got
Mm-hmm.
because it's killed the Justice League and just the concept alone, but then just the way it looks, and then they're gonna drop that in the DLC if it's
Yeah.
legit. To me, that's the game I want to play. If I could play
Yeah.
Suicide Squad with the Justice League in there, I'd want them to team up. I don't want to
Yeah.
kill them.
Yeah.
Also, like I honestly don't know. So does Kevin Conroy have more lines not released for this game yet?
Hmm.
They've already said that's not his final performance. It's going to be in one of the Elseworlds movie, or what's it called?
Okay.
It's an animated film, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
three-parter. And
Oh.
they said the animated series Batman is going to have a cameo in parts 2 and 3. So
Hmm.
that's supposed to be his final performance.
Okay. Yeah, because they're doing they're animating the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
That's the one. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
3 separate films.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's cool.
That's cool as long as it's not the actual
The game.
what we got in the game, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw that and yeah, that was just very disheartening.
Also, I play DC Online, and those devs were saying this was after Kevin Conroy like just passed away. They're saying like he's been recording with us for years. Like we have so much unused Kevin Conroy performance. And it's like, so he's probably still going to be our Batman for a while. It's like, oh,
Mm.
wow. That's
Wow.
nuts. So, and I have him as an ally. So whenever I'm in battle and I fill up my meter, I can just hit it and Batman comes out. And in his Kevin Conroy voice, he's like, I've been watching you. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then she throws batarangs. I'm like, it's cool every now and then, you know, it's like super late at night. I should be in bed. And I hear Kevin Conroy Batman start talking. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
everything's emotional at that hour, you know?
At midnight, yeah.
Yeah, or after midnight, yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to know what you had heard about it because I don't think I'm going to play it. But, oh, because also the Joker in this world is from, like, he's elsewhere, what? Elseworlds Joker?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so because the original one died in the Arkham games.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. And this is in continuity with the
Hmm.
Arkham games. Yeah.
So they're thinking, is this like
Mm.
a Elseworlds Justice League, or are they clones, or what?
Mhm.
And I'm like, hmm.
That's interesting.
I mean, it would be cool if that is the truth because it'll leave like a like that's a ballsy thing to do for a video game, you know?
Hmm.
Essentially make the DLC like a whole different game.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
Well, what else? Since we've had to keep delaying, I feel like it's been a while since we recorded.
Hmm.
What have I missed? Do we got to fill each other in on anything?
Mm. The trailer for the animated X-Men cartoon dropped today.
Just dropped today. It's
Hmm.
premiering on my birthday, people. I can't
Hmm.
wait.
Hmm.
Apparently, everyone online thought it was Matthew Mercer, so you weren't alone.
Okay.
But they said
Cool.
no, it's the original cast. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Okay. Okay.
Which is interesting because I imagine they're gonna sound older. Wolverine
Hmm.
only has one line, and it sounded kind of weird. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, hmm,
I think it'll be a thing. Like we just gotta keep going.
yeah, suspension of what disbelief or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
like and it's kind of the same with a lot of things. It's like obviously time has passed, so they're not going to sound exactly the same.
Hmm.
But as it goes on, I think I'll just get used to it.
Yeah, I wish they did more animated movies the way DC does. I
Yeah.
feel like it's every few months there's a new DC movie. It's either the same cast or a new cast, but it's like the same continuity. I wish they did that with Star Trek,
Mm,
you know, and we're seeing all these actors coming back just to do the voice for like Lower Decks. I'm like,
mm-hmm.
man, that would be really rad if they just did like animated movies, you know, like
Mm,
stuff here. It could still be like this took place in the original next gen series. This was like a missing adventure, or it could take place after. Like you could do anything with the animation.
Yeah,
I think especially
yeah.
because like the fans are really craving like that prime timeline
Hmm.
content. You know.
Why? I'm pretty curious about. I'm pretty curious about that because I'm gonna use two different examples that aren't necessarily the same,
Mm-hmm.
but just are in line with um this like animated movie for for a franchise. So like I remember for Doctor Who, they have like the second Doctor, there was like a serial or something where like they have all of the audio, but they don't have all of the
Footage.
video footage because it
Mm-hmm.
was destroyed or burned or whatever. So what they ended up doing was they ended up like animating it. And so now there's like a, 50-minute special or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. But I remember watching not too long ago, I think just last a couple of months ago, saw a trailer for uh like another like an animated movie for Babylon 5.
Yeah, that surprised me too because that franchise hadn't seen anything in like 10,
Like
15 years, maybe longer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty surprised by that. So I don't know, like I'm kind of just curious like what do those fans think? Of
Yeah.
like getting, because like cause I'm very unfamiliar with Babylon 5, so I don't know if it actually got
Hmm.
like a nice wrapped up ending or not. But, I mean I think just last week or last time we recorded, we were talking about, you know, sci-fi shows that were canceled, that didn't get to have their happy ending,
Right.
and all the different things that they have to do to get it. So like it's very interesting. Like I'm on board with you, I think, in terms of like if so many previous cast members for different Star Trek projects are so down to come back to do the voices for Lower Decks, I think that says something about the community and the project that they maybe there is some merit to like doing some Star Trek animated, like the continuing adventures of Deep Space Nine or something,
Hmm. Hmm.
um but yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, and as far as Marvel's concerned, like that's one thing that I just don't understand. Like they have shows out, but they're like for little kids. Like they have Spider-Man and Friends or something where it's like a whole bunch of different spider people that are all teaming up, going on different ventures, but like where's the new X-Men cartoon? Where's the new Spider-Man? I know we were supposed to get another Spider-Man cartoon. They announced that like feels like almost 10 years ago. And I think they canceled it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I just don't understand, especially with the success of Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like that should have prompted something,
I
like
think
greenlit more animated projects.
I think there's still such a big divide between TV and film.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. I think that's also why the Ninja Turtles we got in Fortnite was not from the film, the new film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been a really sweet, but no, it's more kind of generic, but also looks a lot like the previous animated efforts. Like I don't know, we didn't get our Black April O'Neil, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird because I think a big part of it is the MCU. I
Yeah.
think they have this idea that we don't want to confuse people. We don't want to do a new X-Men show because we have plans for X-Men. It's that thing. And I mean I
Yeah.
get it too. They don't want to, desaturate, is that the word?
Oversaturate.
Oversaturate the market, even if it is a kid show. Like when they bring out the X-Men, that's going to be the only X-Men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks from a creative standpoint. Business wise, I mean, I honestly don't know.
Mm.
And we've had our ups and downs with the DC animated film universe. You know, we just talked about it the other day, Court of Owls, and like how they didn't get the respect or justice they deserved. And it's like, man, yeah, that's a lot of those films. Like that, the writing is pretty cool, the action is pretty solid. They don't know how to animate people's faces,
Mm-hmm.
but still, it's just weird. Like the storylines they decide to focus on as opposed to other storylines. It's just so weird. So I don't know. It depends on who's making them, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. There's the Doctor Who Star Trek crossover comic, Star Trek
Oh
Next Gen,
yeah. Yeah.
and that was amazing. That would have made a killer animated movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 12 issues. It was the perfect length. Loved it. That should have been an animated movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. And I think also, MCU doesn't want any. They want all the options available. That's why we haven't got MCU cartoons. That's why we haven't got MCU comic books. There's no
Mm-hmm.
MCU novels. I think there's a few. Like I think we mentioned, there's a Black Widow one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's so very very limited. And I think the thinking behind it is we want to save all the ideas for the films or like actual shows we plan to make one day. Um, my thing is just, well, then don't adapt. Just make something new.
Mm.
Just give us in continuity stories to keep us going, or at least do it for the kids. You know,
Yeah.
in honesty, what I want, and I think a lot of the MCU fans want, is the fill in, the 5 years of the blip. I want to know what happened.
Yeah.
We got the aftermath. That's kind of the main thing I enjoyed about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We saw the aftermath, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of gave us a glimpse of what that 5 years was like. But I really want to see like who were the bad guys, who were the current Avengers, like what did that look like? But no, they just wanted to rush ahead with Phase 4, and I mean honestly, I think we're all tired of the multiverse by this point, and I feel
Yeah.
like it hasn't even started. I mean, like I don't
Yeah.
know. So, uh, but transitioning between that into dark, I do want to read the tweet that our buddy Dan sent us last week. You already read this to me. I'm going to read it
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
A 3-part tweet. So I'll just go tweet by tweet. Tweet number 1. What does Dan sound like? Right, right, fellas. Couple of pod things. One, I have never, I have never seen Firefly or any of those other shows you talk about on today's episode. I plan on starting Battlestar soon. Dan, power to you. Battlestar Galactica is a wild trip,
Mm-hmm.
very much like Lost. Like people either love the ending or they hate it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to hear what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, we loved it.
Yeah, we loved it. Ending and all.
Firefly, super fast watch because unfortunately it was canceled super early.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google it and the behind the scenes, and you'll just be baffled of how epically Fox just screwed up that show.
Yep.
You know, I feel like that was kind of rare for the time. I feel like we're seeing more of that now. Now that people like companies have like I don't know. It seems like it's so hard because like streamers are the studios now, It just feels
Yeah.
weird. It feels like they're really taking control out of the creative's hands more than they used to.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it seems like Firefly was like a taste of things to come.
Mm.
Okay, tweet number 2. 2. It's the 20th anniversary of Lost this year. How are we celebrating? Giacchino is hosting a live concert in Hawaii. I wish I could go. Me too. And I looked up the tickets. They're not that expensive. I was like, damn it. It would cost more to fly there.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I don't know where we're gonna be. We'll definitely be finished by dark. By then, we'll probably be in season 5 somewhere when the
Mm,
20th comes. But I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have to do a little something. I think eventually it will be cool for us to do like a stream, like something live where we're able to like chat and answer questions and blah blah blah.
yeah.
I think that would be cool. Hopefully, we can have that up and running by then. Um, I don't know. I'll make like little lost cupcakes or something. Like I was listening to no, never mind. I won't mention it.
Just a giant chocolate cake, and it's a piece of the smoke monster.
Yeah,
But when we go to
dude.
eat it, it's just full of like mechanical like
I
bits and
mean, that sounds cool,
uh,
but how cool would it be to have a cake with the fuselage like crashed into the beach? Right?
that yeah, that would be pretty wild.
Man,
We don't like we know so many creative people. We don't know anybody that would like
who can do that?
who could
I
do
don't
that
know.
for us.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who I see doing stuff like that, they use a
Mhm.
lot of the fondant. And I'm not a big fan of fondant.
I mean, yeah, that's unless you're some kind of like master, you know, baker, chocolatier, chocolate smith. I don't know. Like, yeah, like that's the fondant is your bread and butter. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last tweet was, and finally, once Dark and Lost are wrapped up, any plans on a show that maybe Sam has watched, but Matt has to flip the script a little bit? Just a random idea I thought of. Well, thanks for your question, Dan. Question is no, I like to be in control.
What you
I
know?
sent him back the gif of Sydney Sweeney from her Hot Ones, and it's saying that is terrifying for me. Um, no, yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Sam has mentioned a couple shows that I haven't watched. I think it all comes down to like just what we feel like watching at the time,
Hmm.
and also what's a decent like length. Because Lost is what did we say, like 115, 120 episodes, something like that.
Something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's our longest show we watch,
Mm,
because that's taking forever.
yeah.
That's even without us stopping for the strike and watching Dark and stuff. Like it's a long show.
Yeah.
I don't really know if we're gonna do something else as big as that again.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, and the thing is that like a bunch of the shows that I've thought of and wanted to wanted to bring up, or even just the shows, I'm like, Matt, you gotta watch the show. You gotta be
Mhm.
great. And then we joke about it, like, oh, we'll do it on Last Legacies. They're they're all animated shows. They're all cartoons.
And those go forever.
Only some of them.
Like One Piece, we would have to do a side podcast for that. You know?
Yeah, and I didn't even mention that. I didn't even
Mhm.
mention that one. But we did talk about that, and
Mhm.
we're already behind.
We're so
We
behind.
we said we were going to do that months ago.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So I don't know. We've also talked about like making a list and like ranking them, and like Sam and I would vote on like he would vote on the list I make, and I would vote on his list to kind of rank what shows we want to watch, and
Yeah.
then we kind of throw it out there on Twitter and just see what people say as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Pretty
yeah,
much, pretty much what you say, Dan.
yeah. Dan's our main fan.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but and then again, I mean, we could have a number one show that's like 100 episodes, but then number three is like 20. I'm like, oh, let's do that one.
Right. It's like
So
actually don't want to delve into this very long, heady series. It's like, yeah,
right,
let's go for the one that's 12 episodes long.
yeah, yeah. So, man, yeah. Well, good luck with that, Dan. Also, man, just check out any sci-fi from Canada, man. Like they're really cheesy, but like they're really cool because most of it isn't tied to an IP, so it's all like original stuff, you
Hmm.
know. And that was what like the mid 20 teens, like we were just full of it. That was back when like I guess around the time sci-fi became sci-fi, the sci-fi channel.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah. But let's not postpone this anymore, Sam. We got some heavy, heady stuff to talk about
Oh boy.
today. We're talking about Dark, season 2, episode 6, An Endless Cycle.
Oh.
Jonas goes back in time to save his dad and inadvertently kills his dad. That's all we got. That's all I got to say for the write up.
Who could have
You
predicted
predicted
this?
it. You predicted it last week.
Ah, man. And God, this is just one of
I think this is easily the best episode of Dark so far.
yeah.
Like dude, that whole scene, I was just in tears, man. And then when Jonas figures it out, he's telling his dad, "Don't kill yourself," and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, and Jonas, and I never thought about this. Jonas asks him, "How'd you get into the caves?" He's like, "You led me there."
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? And then we see like the flashback. We see the first episode, that scene from Mikhail's perspective, and we see Jonas goes back to him and takes him to the caves. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god. Oh, dude. So then I'm confused, I'm scared, and then you hear the door open, and
Mm-hmm.
in walks old Claudia, and I was pissed of like, you bastard. What the hell? And it's kind
Yeah.
of, it makes sense because we were talking about that. Adam's whole thing is to end the cycles by breaking it, getting to the last cycle. Claudia's whole thing is like you have to get to the, like, what is it? Like, in order to stop it, in order to get to the end, we have to, like, not contain, but preserve. That's the word we've been using. You have to preserve the timeline. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, and that kind of feeds into what middle-aged Jonas was saying. Claudia eventually becomes what she set out to fight, and it's like, oh crap. So she essentially convinces Michael. She didn't really need much convincing, but she convinces him to commit suicide, and she
Mm-hmm.
convinces Jonas to be cool with it. And it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
damn it. So it's like you can see where her and Adam are coming from two different perspectives, but the result is seems to be the same.
Yeah.
And the fact that she claims this is why Adam sends Jonas back. It's not to actually stop it. He needs you to go through with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, that's the thing too, last episode, even we never got it, we never got Adam outright openly saying that Jonas going back in time and stopping his dad from killing himself would solve everything.
Yeah.
Like that was the start of it, because that's what he asked Jonas. Adam asked, where does this start?
Right.
And Jonas is the one that says, well, it starts with my dad. And it's like,
We thought
like,
about that.
yeah.
We discussed it. We're like, is there another point in time that he can go to prevent all of this?
Hmm.
And we couldn't come up with one. We're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. But it's kind of the thing. It's like, it's this it's the same, it's the journey of the time machine, it's the journey of the letter,
Yeah.
it's all of these things that have no origin point, and yet at some point it passes hands, information passes hands, the blueprints get to Tannhaus, who then builds the machine, who then loses the
Yeah.
machine, all these things. Jonas gets the letter and then has to bring it to his dad, because that's what his dad writes to him and all that. And he,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. And so it's just like, man, it's so brilliant. It's so brilliantly written
Mm-hmm.
that I can only be upset because of how good it is,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
you can't find any flaw in the logic, or any
Yeah.
like plot hole. It's just like, damn it. Uh there's so many plot lines, so many timelines, so many elements like that, like you said, the letter, that have its own journey. Uh you remember at the end of Bullet Train? Because like through Bullet Train, you see everything from different characters' perspectives. It kind of gives you the flashback, and at
Yeah.
the very end, you see the whole movie from the water bottle's perspective.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Dark is. Like, I want to see it all from the perspective of the letter.
Yeah.
Where does it go? Who does it go? Same thing with the time machine. Same thing with the saint, the medallion. We kind of saw the origin this episode when they find it on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I want to see the whole story from that medallion's perspective.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking, man. Heartbreaking. Man. Just recontextualizes the whole show again in the opening scene of the show,
Mm-hmm.
Like, speaking of which, this episode had a really cool intro because it's Adam talking blah blah blah, and like beginning and end. Do they actually mean the same thing? And you see like the whole series like rewound, going through reverse. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was the cold open.
Yeah.
Answer me this, Sam.
Okay.
Am I a bad person?
Mm-hmm.
Am I screwed up
Mm-hmm.
for saying I had a lot of fun with this episode?
You know,
'Cause I thought it was fun. Like,
in in a very strange way, I agree with you.
right?
Yeah, it's kind of this thing of like Dark constantly isn't like reinventing itself, but what it's doing is it's what you said earlier, it's recontextualizing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So every episode it's like we get a little bit more of the puzzle, we get a little bit more of the scope of things, we get someone else's perspective, like, oh, I didn't even think about that, like, yeah, like we like everything is connected and all of these people are connected. It's just how are they connected is, it's a huge
Yeah.
big old time web. um but yeah, like there was something that was so fun about watching seemingly like the last time any of these people were happy,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Like we see the start of, Yorick and Hannah's affair.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, you can see there's so much love just between them and then between Hannah and Katharina, Uh yeah, and then even like Hannah and Charlotte get to have like a small little conversation together. It's like these people live together. You kind of forget
Yeah.
that like they're
It's a
all
small
in the
town.
same small town. Yeah, like they're all kind of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I also told I told you this off pod, but I was just like, man, who are all these other people? Where
Right?
the heck
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah.
They're not important. They're
They're all
NPCs.
Hannah's kids. But
Probably. They are their own grandparents.
um but yeah, like, of course certain things had already started to happen. So the seeds were already planted. But you still saw life before everyone started going missing.
Mhm.
You even see Hannah, like she's kind of getting a little affectionate with Michael, but he's like very standoffish. He's like, I got to get back to work, and he doesn't want to
Mhm.
go to the party. So, like, on one hand, you can understand why she's like pushed away, you know.
For sure.
But at the same time, we also remember all the stuff she did as a kid. So yeah, she's still crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the great things about this show is that it allows for everyone to be fully complex characters. They're fully
Mm-hmm.
people, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like we know the machinations and like the devastation that Hannah is capable of. and yet we fully understand where, she's like, she's just trying to have a moment with her husband, that
Yeah.
she loves. It looks like she loves him.
Yeah.
And he pulls away because there's this thing that he doesn't know how to talk about, you
Yeah.
know?
That's interesting too. So it's very I kind of dug the way it's done when the way it happens because Jonas brings it up. Uh, our Jonas, modern day Jonas, when he goes and he talks to him, his dad, he's like, I know everything. I know about the caves and blah 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 and all that stuff. And you great acting, especially for the guy who plays Michael, who's really only in it this whole series, very little, but he's
Hmm.
such a pivotal part of this whole show. Um, he did a fantastic job, and you see him like going through that emotions, like, oh my god, my son knows the truth. Why? But also, thank God someone knows the truth. He completely changes his demeanor, and he's able to open up, and he's talking to Jonas about it. And uh I forgot what my point was, but I'm like, it's such a great performance, and it was such a great moment to see. Oh, I remember what my point was. It's a great moment to see like life come back into him. Whereas
Yeah.
before, he obviously didn't have any, but it's like that process. Once he started opening up with Jonas and talking about it, it's like more and more was coming back. So like
Hmm.
we have the scene where little Mikhail is using the restroom and adult Michael is being all creepy and like listening through the door and he's looking at the parents outside the window, just being really weird. And it's like, well, it makes sense because like he's remembering all of this stuff is coming back to him like in the moment, you
Hmm.
know? And so when he's at the restroom door and Mikhail sees him, he's probably getting those memories of when he was in that position.
Yeah.
Ah, man, dude.
Time travel sucks.
Time travel sucks. This was like a fun time travel kind of episode though, because we got the happy music again. We got to see everyone at a party. We're like, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, everyone's there, everyone's dancing. Katarina's having a ball, and she seems like she's a really good mom, you know.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, her butthead of a husband is hooking up with Hannah by the shed in
Hmm.
the rain.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like sexy romantic rain like the Notebook. It's like end of days apocalypse rain, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
I even like how they said that too. Like, is this the end of the world? Like, I thought it would
Hmm.
be noisier. And she
Perfect.
asks him,
Perfect callback to their conversation when they were kids.
yeah, exactly at the
Yeah.
bus stop. And she says, if you could what go back, or if you could wish for one thing, what would it be? He
Hmm.
says, a world without Wyndon.
Hmm. Well, no,
And
she says that this time.
oh, she says that, yeah, because he said it as a kid,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
she
like
says it.
that's kind of the thing. Like this scene is mirroring that, even in the fact that like Hannah's already outside this time when Yorick comes up, whereas in the past Yorick
Yeah.
was at the bus stop and Hannah showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this cool thing. It's like, oh yeah, obviously like they remember, but yeah, like it's this thing of like I feel this was always going to happen. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things like no matter what, like this was
Yeah.
always going to happen in some way, shape, or form. But also kind of like look at how connected these people are,
Oh yeah,
you
definitely.
know? It's like, and I'm again not rooting for them, not condoning it,
Right.
but man,
You
I
see, like it was kind of
I love
meant to be.
mess. Bless this mess. It's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Good drama.
Good drama, good drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of good drama, uh
Hang on, but because I still want to talk about this scene,
oh, okay.
because just what I want to say lastly is just to further shove my head up the ass of the creators.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
I love this show so much. Um, the scene when they were kids at the bus stop, like if we really want to get into like film school douche about it, like they're two kids at a bus stop at a transition point, a point where it's transportation, it's meant to go somewhere. You can leave, you know?
Hmm.
Now, as adults, where are they? They're sitting on a swing set, almost as if shackled by the chains of parenthood. I don't know. That's just what I was
Wow.
thinking about when I was watching it. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. You
Yeah.
know, they're definitely swings are typically something seen as children for children. The
Hmm.
fact that they're sitting on them, having this exact same conversation that they had when they were actually kids, and it's
Hmm.
like, wow, interesting.
And it's sort of a thing of also being damn it. I had the perfect phrase for it too. Um but like you're locked in emotion. You're locked in a place. You know,
Mm,
it mimics movement and going somewhere, but you're not going anywhere.
yeah,
You're staying in the same spot, you
yeah,
know, which yeah, perfect and analogy pull back, to look at both of them at this point in their life.
hmm,
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
yeah. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna jump to next?
I was gonna jump to the beach or the lake.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, here's the thing. At a certain point, when it came to Game of Thrones, I really had to just be like, I'm either with it or I'm just gonna be disgusted by it. And like
I mean,
I never figured it out. I never figured out
yeah.
also, but with the way that ends, it never really gives me like any
And
time to
and in Game
like
of Thrones, it's a very
speculate.
toxic relationship.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Oh well, I mean, I was talking about Danny and John.
Oh, I was thinking about Jamie and Cersei.
Oh, well, no, because like no,
You're
that's
never
a whole,
supposed to root for them.
yeah, we're never supposed to root for them. But Danny and John, they're like,
There are
they're, sup-
leads. Yeah,
there are leads and they've been fated to like come together in this whole thing. We spent
yeah,
all that this previous season coming up to that, blah, 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 all that stuff. Anyway, not to get sidetracked.
yeah.
But the point of that was that, you know, definitely by the end, we're like, man, yeah, no, like not supposed to root for it, blah, 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 all this. Whereas this go around with Marta and Jonas, it's like, I can't deny what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
Dude, it's just like the parents. It's kind of like Yorick and Hannah. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, man. I don't know.
I I love their conversation with present day Jonas and Marta.
Mhm.
Like they're it's so cute, it's so innocent. It's a I don't even know if it's a first love kind of thing, but it's just like, oh, like this is where I guess it is mostly, yeah,
Mhm.
like a first love, like, you know, and then Jonas leaves,
Yeah.
and then current Jonas
Mhm.
shows up. Also, it's amazing what a haircut can do.
Dude, I wrote like he looks so different just in the span of what is it, like a year?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole scene where he goes back to talk to her, I'm like, give this kid all the awards, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good actors in the show. I think we've only given Jonas the MVP like once, maybe twice. But
Mm-hmm.
this one, like, this is why this kid, Lewis Hoffman, is essentially the lead of the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, he just delivered him and Martha, I forget her name. I'll look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, man, that scene is just so heartbreaking and like you can tell they're just so in love. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god.
And it's so crazy how to Marta, this is just the same guy. And obviously we know with Jonas it's not.
Hmm.
But current Jonas gets his first kiss from Marta at the beach. So then when she goes off to the party and then Jonas meets her there, it's not the same Jonas,
Yeah.
and that's why he's, I like for Marta, I guess it's just sort of him like, oh, he's just being aloof,
Hmm. Hmm.
he's saying all these jokes, blah, blah, blah. Such a Jonas thing. And then she kisses him. I'm sure that Jonas is like, wow, this is great. Like,
Hmm.
yes, all I had to do was be aloof and charming, and there we go. I'm in. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
dude, future version of you just bared his freaking soul to this girl,
Hmm.
because he hasn't
And
thought of really anything else
I,
for a year.
and I mean that's how it's happened though. So Current Jonas, that wasn't his first kiss.
Yeah,
That's the way it always happened. I'm
yeah.
like, oh wow. But I like it when she hugs him, or I don't remember, yeah, they're hugging or kissing or something, but she feels his hair and she looks at it real quick. She notices it's longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, brilliant. That's a brilliant move.
Mm-hmm.
A dude most likely will not notice the hair change in a girl unless
Yeah.
it's like drastically different. A girl, she will notice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that was a brilliant little thing right there. And then the same thing happens with Michael when he hugs Jonas at the table and he like feels his hair. He even asks like, "What did you do to your hair?" But Jonas just starts talking, and I'm like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, dude, that's like one of my favorite TV moments. That scene at the lake, both
Mm-hmm.
with younger Jonas and then current Jonas. Like that's up there to me with Desmond finally calling Penny on the boat.
I was just about to say
Like
that. Yeah.
so romantic. Also has to deal with time travel, and I'm like, the acting was just astonishing. I'm like, I think this is my favorite episode of the series. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god. I don't even know what else happened in the episode. Lots of setup, and that was nice. Like
Yeah.
the way that we were able to go back in time and still continue the main storylines, but by going back in time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
interesting because I guess we this episode sort of gives us like an origin point for some of the current storylines that
yeah,
we didn't know that we were missing until
yeah,
we get them here, like cuz there's the whole bit with Charlotte and Peter.
yeah.
They're just like on the heels of
Hmm.
Peter's infidelity.
They're not talking about it, but it's what's not being said.
Yeah.
That's heard loudest, and it's like, wow,
Hmm.
okay.
and then
Um,
and then we have like Alexander reading the newspaper and seeing that in the small town, however many counties over, they're
hmm.
talking about the unsolved murders,
Hmm.
that pretty sure he has, you know, a connection to.
Yeah,
And he gets on the phone and calls Waller, his connection in the police department, to look into it, which I can only assume is, I guess, what triggers the the inspector, the special unit inspector in the present day, you know,
maybe.
because it's
Yeah.
like, it just feels weird how, like, that inspector, he was the only person who came, he volunteered, and then spends most of his interrogations and questioning trying to lead back to the
Yeah.
Tiedemanns, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's actually about the missing people at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so wild.
Oh man. Yeah. And we saw I essentially like a meet cute question mark between Magnus and Francesca.
Yeah,
And I was like,
interesting.
interesting. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sexual tension was there from the start, I guess.
I
you know?
sure, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
so
know.
weird. It's so weird because there are certain moments in certain scenes where I'm like, do we really need this? And
Yeah.
it kind of feels, it sort of just feels that way with like any of the stuff that we've gotten from Magnus.
Yeah, I feel like unfortunately he's been him and to a lesser extent Francesca, they've really kind of been sidelined.
Yeah.
Um I think she has a little more role to play because she has her sister, Elizabeth,
Hmm.
who's clearly has some kind of role throughout all of this that we're still not really sure of yet. But yeah, I don't know. And then everything with her dad and her mom, and then the way the dad is connected to um the sex worker in the truck, and like she feels more ingrained in the story even if she doesn't really have a big story herself, whereas
Mm-hmm.
Magnus is kind of just like tagging along.
Mm-hmm.
uh Everything like we've got from him is like we're also getting from Marta's story. So yeah, unfortunately he just kind of feels like extra.
Yeah.
However, let's talk about that last scene though.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of
Uh-huh.
Magnus just hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
two people show up and start talking to Adam, and he's like, "Oh, they're like, you could have told Jonas," and he's like, "I told him what he needed to know," and he walked off. And
Mm-hmm.
then the lady says something like, "It's all going to be over soon" or whatever. Magnus, like,
Mm-hmm.
you could kind of tell by the casting, man. Like, he looks like him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, jeez,
Once again, shout out to the casting,
yeah,
you know?
wow.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of Bartosh kind of like flirting or trying to like compliment Marta.
Oh,
And he's kind of shy about it, you know. Like he always seems a little cocky, but to seem like shy about it, I was like, all right, that's nice, but too slow, bro. You know?
yeah. It is one of those things where it's like, man, it's too little, too late, man.
Yeah,
Like
she's
timing is everything.
yeah, and she is so in love with Jonas. Like he's like, I just your hair is nice. I wanted you to know. Okay. She's like, oh, thanks. See you tomorrow. She just
Yeah.
takes off oblivious. I was like, who is she, Matty Menace?
Right? You taking everybody on the same date and not knowing that it was a date?
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Oh man,
Wow.
what
Only
an
you.
episode. It was just nice seeing everyone relatively happy, for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we really needed that, even, even if, part of it is watching like two two people, engage in infidelity,
Yeah.
it's like there's something to be said about like people finding this joy where they can and where they need to.
Hmm.
And especially I think that's true in terms of us, the viewer, watching that, given the entire context of the episode is essentially boils down to this boy goes back to the day his father kills himself to convince him not to do it,
Yeah.
only to realize
He's part of the thing that
he's
causes him to do it.
yeah, yeah, which like
Such a nightmare, dude. Like,
yeah, it's fans of the Greek tragedy complex, they're
yeah.
loving it, they're loving the
Oh
heck out of
yeah.
this, and it's like, yeah, man, like they're like, yeah, and even in that, like there's something kind of beautiful watching that,
Hmm.
watching the characters slowly figure out that like it's a perfect episode title, it's a never ending loop, this is
Yeah.
constant and
And
forever.
and now you think like, man, middle-aged Jonas knew, and he didn't give his younger self a heads up.
Hmm.
Adam knew,
New.
and he essentially sent himself to do it. Like, just man, like, how do you not lose your mind? How do you not just go like full evil?
Yeah.
Like I, especially because like we're talking about decades. I don't like the raw emotions of this episode alone. Like, I don't know. I would have started shooting people. I would have just started blasting like Danny DeVito in that one clip. I'm
Right.
like
Right.
I'm breaking this loop somehow.
Hmm.
Uh yeah. So, and like what we were talking earlier about the elements, like what happens if you destroy the letter? Can you even do it? Like, is it possible? We haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise, but just the way things are happening, it's like everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen, the way it's
Yeah.
always happened.
Yeah.
Um, is there some kind of like final destination type power actually like ensuring that everything stays on track? Or is it just Claudia?
Yeah.
Like, man. And it's a wild because like we were just talking how Claudia really seems like she's becoming the lead, especially after the season. And the last couple episodes she was in, like she's really heavily traveling through the decades and figuring stuff out about the actual like time travel mechanics. And then when she shows back up again in her old form, it's just like, no,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's the villain. Who knows? Like,
Hey, like,
maybe time is the real villain. I don't know.
yeah.
As Dr. Soren says, time is a predator that stalks its prey.
They echo a similar sentiment in Lisa Frankenstein, which my
Yeah.
wife and I watched last week.
How was
Uh
it?
oh, it was great. It was great. I loved it. We loved it. Yeah, it was really fun. It kind of feels tailor-made to be a cult classic,
Yeah.
which
It feels like
feels
all Diablo Cody movies.
yeah, to a point, yeah. Um I think that's just her style,
Yeah.
how she writes and stuff.
She just wrote it, right?
Um,
She didn't direct it?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Zelda Williams, debut director,
Oh,
Robin
nice.
Williams' daughter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense because he was really big into video games. Of course, he would name his daughter Zelda.
Zelda. Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Great movie. I think it's fantastic for a debut. You can tell it's rough around the edges. She's still trying to figure it out, but I think it's solid. But yeah, there's so trying not to give spoilers. But uh, uh, Lisa doesn't have her mom. Her mom was killed,
Like a Disney
and
princess.
yeah, like a Disney princess. And part she's giving like a speech, like a monologue that is essentially saying like, uh, after the funeral, everybody wants to get through grief. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to just get past it. And they don't know it, but once they get to a certain point, they're almost relieved that they don't have to be sad anymore.
Hmm.
It's like we can
Hmm.
forget about it and we can
Hmm.
move on and we can do all this stuff. Uh and she essentially says like maybe time doesn't heal all wounds. Time is the wound.
Ooh,
And
wow.
I'm like, man,
I like that.
so like watching it within the context of the movie is like, yeah, like that makes sense. Like she's still grieving, she's still mourning while everybody else has moved on. Um, but taking that quote and transplanting it here into Dark kind of feels almost like the mission statement.
Yeah.
Time is the wound, and that kind of goes along with what we were talking about, how like temporal decay, like
Yeah.
there's something here that like just the act of moving through and being caught in this loop erodes everything around this portal, this vortex.
So, and okay, with that in mind, what do you think, like, the message of dark is? Not literally, but like, we always joked about it.
Hmm.
Lost. We Lost would have been a much shorter show if people just communicated.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like what is it about dark? Like what do people need to do to actually break this cycle? I don't think it's a communication issue.
Like it is and it isn't, because like people come together and say like, hey, time travel exists, and hey, your kid and your husband are stuck in the past, and so like
Yeah,
it's not like, well that's what I'm saying, like it's not a communication thing because people do that.
yeah.
um I think it's it kind of comes down to we have to just be better than ourselves. It is very much, like the adage, there's only like six type of stories, whatever, man versus
Yeah.
God, man versus man, man versus self, like stuff like that. That's kind of what this is, though. It's like, once we got, Adam's whole spiel about why we're doing this, like what we're doing, we're warring against God and God is time. Really, all it boils down to is we're just fighting ourselves. we're just fighting this fear of both what is known and unknown, you know? And at least in terms of from what the Sigmundus cult is about, like they want to break the timeline so there's no death. They want to break the timeline so none of this happens anymore. And it's like that, but that's not how that works,
Hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
it's and it's less of a thing that like, oh, your pain is what makes you, your grief is what makes you. It's like that's partially true, but it's what you do with that pain and that grief afterwards. It's how you live your life.
Mhm.
And if you're just stuck in this loop where you are constantly reliving your trauma, then you can't move on. You can't grow. So
Yeah.
in a way, it is about Dark is a show about how we're so caught up in our pain when all we need to do is just choose to not fall to baser instinct.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's
That.
yeah, that at least that's my interpretation. That's
Yeah.
that's my thesis.
That's interesting. Like I would have to think about that. I think I like that and I agree with all that. I do think it's a bit. I feel like it's a harsh lesson. I think it's very much like I don't know how to say it. You know, grief happens. Deal with it. Because like everyone's motivation is uh to save someone, to save someone
Yeah.
they've lost. Most people, most of the story or the characters who are going on the story, it is uh has something to do with that. Well, but I mean, I don't know. It's tough because like Jonas just falls into it, you know.
Yeah.
But I think eventually he figures out that like maybe he can save his dad, maybe he can protect the ones he loves. Yorick for sure. It's a grief thing, and not just grief, but like to saving his kid. Like if I have a chance, I'm gonna take it. Like I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to think about it more. I feel
Mhm.
like because you said it's a man versus self type thing, which I think if you think about it in the big picture, is that not just man versus God?
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same.
Hmm.
So like, but like, I feel
I mean,
like
that's on a philosophical thing. It's like, yeah, all of those stories, they're all interrelated. It is
yeah,
all, yeah, they're
because
all the same.
I feel like that is the kind of bigger picture. Adam's fight with God is everyone's fight.
Yeah.
Jonas can't accept what's happened. He wants to save his dad. You
Hmm.
know, um, Yorick's in a little different position because he doesn't know. He thinks he can. He thinks he believes his kid's alive, so he goes to try and save him. You know, so we watching is like, yeah, man, you're kind of fighting fate. He doesn't really see it that way.
Yeah.
Uh, that's more of an external thing. I'm fighting external forces. Someone trying to split up my family. I can do that. No one else can. you know. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's. But I mean, that's what's cool about this show. Same thing with like Lost. You're really able to like, if you wanted to, you can get into the philosophy of all of it. Do you remember like there was a time when like everything that had an IP had a philosophy book? The
Yeah.
philosophy of Lost, the
Hmm.
philosophy of Harry Potter. I want to read the philosophy of Dark.
Oh man,
I
yeah.
want to see what people really get into here.
Yeah. That would be
It's just
fascinating.
gonna piss me off, and I want to punch them all because I don't like
You'll find
philosophers.
you'll find all the contributors and you'll be like, "No, I think you're wrong."
I'm gonna go to their house, Jay and Silent Bob style, and kick their ass,
As soon as they answer the door.
even if I agree with them.
You're
Um,
right. Bam. But I'm still upset.
okay, so let me just read out some notes here that I wrote. I thought it was crazy knowing that there's two Jonases in that world. I'm like, that's rad. Uh, the little medallion, it's Saint Christopher, the patron saint of travelers.
Hmm.
Awesome.
I kind of knew that as soon as we first got a good look at the
Uh-huh.
medallion, like couple episodes back or something. I
Uh-huh.
was like, that's got to be Saint Christopher. which
Man.
is my confirmation name.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Wow. Well, that's
yeah.
cool. Don't do any time traveling anytime soon.
I'm gonna try
Um,
not to.
man, dude, when Mikhail sees Jonas in the car, ultimate fist bump. And
Oh
then that's what Jonas
man.
tells his dad. He's like, I know
Oh
everything.
man.
He's like, what do you mean? Ultimate fist bump? And he's like, why did you say that? It started coming back to him like, oh, dude.
When I go
Oh,
back and rewatch the show, I'm gonna be so upset when I get to episode one.
yeah,
When I get to
yeah.
that moment in episode one, I'm gonna be
Uh-huh.
pissed.
Oh, man. Okay, modern Jonas tells Martha at the lake, we're a perfect match. Never think anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, put that on a Valentine's card. Oh my God. Loved it. Hannah recognizes Mikkel when he needs to use the restroom. She has like a deja vu moment. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, this is what's brilliant because we've been talking about this. Like, how does this work? Like, she naturally seeing Mikhail grow over time. It's kind of natural. So she doesn't really notice him at first. And then, like, oh, oh, oh,
Mm-hmm.
loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I freaking love this episode so much. We needed all of this darkness to earn us the opportunity to see everyone having fun. Yeah, man, that's it. All right, so just to wrap up real quick, MVP
It's gotta be Michael.
Michael. Ooh, okay.
Especially like I know we were saying like we hardly have given Jonas the MVP, and definitely if there was an episode where he earned it, it's this one. But I cannot deny from second one, from the first time he shows up and he like kind of spooks his Jonas, and they turn like they're both turning, they're smiling, they're laughing. You're just like, this is a man who loves his family.
Yeah,
This is a
man.
man who so wishes he could be everything that his wife wants him to be.
Yeah,
He's just stuck in a nightmare of
yeah,
where he just is seeing himself, and the thing that kind of kicks off the whole, his trigger mechanism is the fact that he's seeing his wife Hannah talk to his mom and dad,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like just there's no words. He doesn't have to say it. He doesn't have to say it out loud to
yeah,
anybody. We can just see it in the terror in his face that like he's
yeah.
in a nightmare.
Yeah, but we even see it even earlier because she asks him at the beginning of the episode, "Are you sure you don't want to go to the party at
Yeah.
Katarina and Ulrich's?" And you see him instantly change because you see him with Jonas talking, smiling, and then they mention that and he completely changes.
Hmm. Yeah, he like
Such a good actor.
his hands start to spasm and he like drops his
Yeah.
coffee cup. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, he becomes undone.
And like I
Yeah.
said, for an actor who is in very, very little of this series, but who plays such a prominent, like, or an important role,
Yeah.
he so
Yeah.
good, man. Well, I'm going to use my vote for Lewis Hoffman, who plays Jonas, because that was just
Fair enough.
magical. The scene between the two of them in the kitchen, and then also Jonas and Martha, and like, oh my God.
Hmm.
So Lewis Hoffman, who plays Jonas, and Sebastian Rudolph, who plays Michael.
Perfect.
All right, bro. 2 episodes left of the season. Predictions.
Man, I don't know. Pain. Lots
Pain.
of pain.
All right, I'm gonna write that in all caps. Well, oh, by the way, also she didn't get MVP, but honorable mention Lisa Vicari, who plays Martha.
Yes.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Sam, thank you for joining me for this adventure.
Uh-huh.
We have come this far in the show,
Mm-hmm.
and now it pains me to say it, guys, but after tonight's episode, we are now in the final 10 episodes of Dark.
Don't say it. Take it
Yep.
back. Take it
So,
back.
with 10 episodes left, we'll be
Oh.
back next week with season 2, episode 7, The White Devil.
Mm.
Ooh, how do you say that in Spanish?
El Diablo Blanco?
Ooh, sexy. Okay, I don't know how to hmm sum up this next week's episode. So I'm going to say blank meets the blank and learns his true identity. Blank tries to prevent blank's blank in 1987. And finally, blank travels to blank to see blank.
Son of a.
This one is hard. Usually I'm
Honestly,
able to reword it to avoid spoilers, but I'm like,
uh-huh.
each sentence is a spoiler. And I'm assuming it has something to do with
Blank.
blank. El Diablo Blanco. Well, guys, it's been wild. Here we are. The beginning
Man.
of the end.
Oh,
The end of the beginning.
I hope-
Maybe they mean the same thing.
Whoa. It's
Uh,
just like that Smashing Pumpkins song.
yeah. Well, everyone, let us know what you thought about the episode. Hit us up on Twitter, hashtag Lost Legacies. We'll read it. Also, let us know what series and or film should get a continuation in animation.
Ooh.
Indiana Jones, to me, that's like the easy one. You
That's
know?
it's prime. It's
Like,
perfect to just
you don't have to worry about replacing Harrison Ford because it's a cartoon, you know?
Yeah.
Get Troy Baker. He's playing him in the video game, you know?
Yeah. Easy.
Like, dude, if you can do an indie show with the same creativity as like the Clone Wars or Rebels or Bad Batch, you got yourself a hit, man.
Yeah.
You know, I would watch every episode of that
Twice.
twice. The continuing adventures of Indiana Jones. And you could set it in a time where like all the characters are still alive. You know, you could bring back the dad, Sala, Brody. I'm glad that Brody's in the game. That's cool.
Yeah. I thought that was
you
that was
place
cute.
it before Mutt, but you can even have Marion show up and short round for a little bit. You know, that'd be awesome.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, let us know. You can hit me up as well. I'm on Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
So until next time, ultimate fist bump.
Go to hell. Hell.
I've been waiting to say that since the first episode.